would say is the best player in the world right now. Maru. Maru, who's been around since the beginning of StarCraft 2. He qualified for GSL Season 1 in 2010. At the age of 13. He's now 21 or going on 21. And he's been on a tear. So what we're going to be looking here, it's not about who wins or who loses. It's what Maru sees, what he's doing, why he's doing it. And that's what I'm going to try to show. And I'm going to be pausing and we're just going to look. We're going to watch. This is Game 2 of the WESG Finals. Winner of this takes home $200,000. Second place, $100,000. So this series is for $100,000, essentially. So you don't hold back for $100,000. I don't think many people would, but Maru was starting out with a command center first. Let me turn up the sounds a little. I can't really hear anything. But a command center first. We are on Eastwatch. So Eastwatch is actually a lot of the time considered a Zerg favored map, just because of the size. The bigger the map, the more time Zerg has to rebuild, and Zerg is the race that you give them another wave of production, they can get a round of drones and then a round of units. That's a huge advantage. That advantage doesn't work so well for Terran until until you really get heavily into multitasking. And double gas behind this. So this is going to be probably directly in the Hellions. It might even be mech here. But Maru is not going for some bio timing. He's going for things that get across the map quickly. In this case, the double gas behind the command center first is going to go straight towards factory, and more than likely Hellions, to still give him some map control. So one of the key points of Maru, he doesn't like to let go. Okay. He doesn't like to let go. Whenever he has control of some part of the game, he is very unwilling. And now this is a good thing, but it's really hard to do. Like, for example, you can keep a Zerg player from counterattacking you by sending drops out. But if you lose one of those drops, there's suddenly a group of units and an opening for a Zerg player to counterattack you. Maru will always be right on the edge of having just barely enough units at home to defend, while still sending the rest out on the map to keep a Zerg busy. And there's pretty much no one better at it. So this is... right now, as of April 2018, Maru is essentially on top of the world. And he's continuing it. I'm gonna keep saying, I'm very glad I found these replays at all, so I could watch it firsthand. Is this mech a second factory? So it looks like we're gonna have a little bit of an older school battle mech opening with 2 factories early on, probably with 2 reactors. This barracks will more than likely flip over and make a reactor next to the second factory. The intent of this is to put a different kind of pressure on. I think this is Maru 1 saying this map is so large. I want to get a command center first. He scouts for the 3rd. And 2, just trying to switch it up a little bit. He's very well known for his bio style. And I'm sure Dark knows that, who he's playing against right now. So adding on... he's capable of anything. He's a wild card. But let's talk about the differences before we get any further. Talk about the differences between how you play mech and how you play bio. Like, say you're doing a 2-1-1, which is one of Maru's favorite builds when he's not proxy 2-raxing. The 2 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. The intent of that is to pressure a Zerg and keep their drone count down, limit their creep spread, force them to make units, and assert map control. This build has a lot of the same purposes, but it also has the added bonus of essentially forcing out roaches. You almost can't hold the Cyclone Hellbat. You almost can't hold the Cyclone Hellbat without having Roach Ravager, things like that. It negates the effectiveness of Queens. I mean, Queens are still useful, but not as much as they are against, sniping medevacs or just dealing with Hellions. So, while Maru can't be losing Cyclones early, losing a group of Cyclones and Hellions is a much bigger deal than losing, say, 1 medevac. It also gets to a point. Cyclones are a unit that, if you have momentum with Cyclones, you can just run them over. Because they have a lot of armor, they do a lot of damage very quickly. So, as long as he puts them in the right place at the right time, they can be very effective. But they're also a lot less mobile than medevacs that are boosting around the map with Marines you can sacrifice. Alright, a third command center on the way. He knows that Dark has scouted this. I'm not sure if he's trying to hide the third or not. I mean, he's making it right at the front, but he's not going to make it on the low ground. He still doesn't know exactly what Dark's doing. He's keeping his Cyclones at home until he has 3 as well. Immediately adding on tanks. There's no armory. I think he'll be adding on 2 armories soon. But interesting, this is not the full battle mech style. This is not like, I'm going to keep attacking, keep pressuring. He's just doing enough. He's kind of trying to feel it out right now. Because he's getting a third command center. He's still making enough units and pressuring, but he's saying, like, if you undercommit, I'll do damage. But if Dark has enough units here to deal with this, he's definitely not going to try to push it. There's already a tank on the way. He's already got a third command center. He can't afford to lose these units, or he can't take his third. If he loses the units on the field, he has nothing to protect a third. That's just the simple version. Wow, Dark. At this point, I'm sure Maru... I want to go back into that. The exact timing. Look at the hotkeys here from Maru. He's got his Hellions and his Reaper on 1. He's got his Cyclones on 2. So the way alerts... We're going to watch this from both sides. Real quick, we're going to watch Maru. Okay, he sees the... But wait. Look at his selections. Go back just a couple seconds. He knows when the alert will happen. There will be alert. Your units are under attack, and Dark will see that. So he's trying to use that split second. If you look at Maru's selection, of course he's going back to production all the time. This, right before his Cyclones are about to attack. But this is a 1 second timing here, and a 1 second can be the difference between 4 and 9 drones. But as his Cyclones are about to attack, he's already selected his Hellions and his Reaper, and is bringing them in to move almost exactly the split second that Dark is going to be looking like, what's attacking my Zerglings? And the Hellions get by. The Roaches are out of position by 1 second, and in comes Maru. And now before we even see how much damage is done, let's look at Dark's vision during that. Did it work? Did Dark get distracted? Did he look away for a split second? Wait for the... He didn't bite. Okay. So he didn't bite. It was still... The ideal was fully there. He didn't bite on it, but he was still a little out of position, and Maru takes advantage of that. Thank you, Jen Swift.
Will be rewarded.
3 months of not enough in the league, but enjoyable nonetheless.
But of course,
Cheers.
that's a testament to Dark, like, not freaking out. He knows the threat of the Hellions. He's not just going to look. Five kills. Now that is something the best players do that is so hard to do. He looked away. You're in the main. There are drones in front of you. And he looked away. And in a split second, adds on his armories. He sees the Spire. But he says, all right, I'm not going to get much more done here. Goes back, adds his armories, because he knew the Hellions weren't going to make it much further from there. His money is under about 300 this entire time. Two armories. He saw the Spire here. But now's the question. I think the Spire took him a little bit off guard, because the engineering bay is a little bit on the later side. He saw Roaches, so he wasn't really expecting a Spire necessarily that quick. He has to kind of keep control of the situation for a while. He has to make sure One, he doesn't take any damage to roaches, and two, the follow-up mutas don't do damage as well. So Hellions always on the map. Adding on any factories. No factories yet. But the Hellions get in. He sent these out. He sent these out before any of the other attacks, by the way. This was well before. Because this map is so large, he just sent them all the way around the top. A Thor is on the way. He's making 3 turrets, but 8 more drones have gone down, 10, and just 4 Hellions. He confirms the Spire is finished, by the way. There's a chance that Dark, on it being scouted, canceled it. Not that I think that was the main objective of those Hellions. Obviously, killing drones was better.
Command center upgrade complete.
But from here, now is the hardest part. This is the hardest part for a mech player. Because when you're going bio, you already have the counter to most tech switches. There's no hard counter to Marines, really. And when you have Maru involved, Banelings are not a hard counter to Marines. Almost nothing is a hard counter to Maru's Marines. But Mutas are a hard counter to Cyclones and Hellions and tanks, right? So you kind of have to gauge, when can I move out? How many anti-air units do I need to build? Maru is still continuing to make Cyclones, so that means you don't really want to build that many Cyclones in the mid-game. I think that building these Cyclones kind of indicates Maru's not sure. Dark could be going into a lot of roaches, which Cyclones are okay against, or he could be building some Mutas, which Cyclones are okay against. Like, they don't die, they can get some damage. I think the Cyclones indicate that Maru right now is not sure what he wants. He's building up his production, and he doesn't want to be unprepared for anything. But pretty confident he doesn't know exactly what he's dealing with.
Additional supply depots confirmed.
He's taking down the rocks here. He's got another base on the way. Just look at his, just for a few seconds, just look at the control groups. Or the selections. He's playing right now at 350, give or take, APM. Not too much micro to do, so it dips down just a bit. Oh, here we go. Let's go back and see what he scanned, actually. That's very important. We'll go back a little. More depots.
Additional supply depots confirmed.
Taking down the rocks so that they're gone, and he can take that gold. Scans, clicked on the infestation pit. He knows that's coming. Scans, looks for the gases and the drone count at this base. Also, he sees there's no static defense there. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Hellion run by come out. So, Maru sees by those gases just starting, by the infestation pit on the way, by the Baneling Nest coming up, Dark is not trying to kill him right now. Dark is spending a little bit of time, and he's macroing up. He's building different tech, more production.
Upgrade complete.
Which means Maru can go into Skytear, which is the ultimate. We're talking, well, mostly Ravens, but also Liberators and Vikings for that later game. And this is why I think Maru has really been just destroying lately. Is before Maru previously, one of his biggest weaknesses was he'd have a plan, and then that would be the plan. Like, his micro, nearly the best in the world, if not the best. But he said, I'm going bio, and he'd go 3-base, Marine, Marauder, Medevac. No matter if there are 12 Ultras on the field, if there are Brood Lords, if there's Mass Lurker, that's what he's doing. Maru today is willing to adapt and not even react, but preempt, to be prepared for ahead of what his opponent is doing. And that is, I think, the difference between Maru previously and Maru now, is he's already a step ahead. He's looking for the opportunity, like, are you catching up in tech, or are you trying to get ahead of me? I'm going to take it 2 steps further, add on starports, add on a 5th base, planetaries, all of that. We're going to the late game. He's got Cyclones on either side. Cyclones and Hellbats can outmaneuver Swarm Hosts. Swarm Hosts are good against tanks. They're good against Thors. But Cyclones and Hellbats can just run away. They can just go wherever the Swarm hosts are. And right now he takes out the gold base while just fighting it out. He draws the tanks down. Most of the Swarm hosts have already used their Locusts. The main army is away from where the Locusts were used. Thank you, Helicopter Bear. He sees the Swarm hosts moving, but a lot of them don't have Locusts. Cyclones coming in, sees more Locusts coming in, backs off, and he's got a Zerg player contained to 3, maybe 4 bases. And he's coming in the front at the same time. The Roach is on the right. The main army backs off to the left, but the Cyclones in the front. Hellbats coming through. Cyclones trade very well with individual Roaches. The Swarm host, he sees the Locust, backs off. He's got the army on the right side, fighting the Queens. Yeah, we'll go ahead. Backs off from the main, sees the Roaches coming back, backs off on the right side. He's playing like Bio with mech right now, which is actually pretty ridiculous. He got 2-2 on the way. I think he realizes at this point he has nothing to draw these Roaches back. So just going to take the trades as best he can. But, he's lost 50 supply. So I would actually say he's probably overdone it a little bit. He's overextended to the point that he might not have enough units to deal with a frontal push.
Command center upgrade complete.
I think you can tell by the way Maru's moving now. Like, he's starting to realize, okay, maybe I need to actually have some units. Oh, no, I take it back. He sees his army dying and says, let's go fight. And this is what I mean by Maru just taking control. Even if it means his supply is going to be lower, he wants to make sure he's fighting and keeping Dark busy and keeping track of his army. He doesn't want to let the Zerg player go. That is very, very apparent here by the fact he's essentially throwing these Cyclones and Hellions away. He just threw them away for another 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds of intel here. This is 100% just buying time. He's hiding the Banshees. He doesn't have Hyperflight or Cloak yet. The Banshees can be used to snipe pretty much all of this.
Upgrade complete.
Does he have 6 bases? This is a 6-base Terran. He's going up to 5 starports with 5 or... I'm not sure if he has 4, 5, or 6 factories right now. His camera's making me a little dizzy. Hellions are chasing. Once he has 4 Banshees, he can 2-shot Swarm Hosts. I'm not sure what his... He doesn't have any ship weapons, but that... I think it takes 8 Banshee values to 2-shot the Swarm Host. I'm not 100%. Splitting against Banelings on the right side. At this point, this has become less of an analysis and more of a cast. Because there's so much happening, even though we can only see Maru's side. Oh, it looks like it takes about 10 or 11 shots. I take it back. I'm not sure what their armor upgrades are. They have +1. So 3 volleys to kill this.
Research complete. Base is under attack.
Dark making more mutas now as he sees the Banshees. The Roaches coming in. The Banshee's not going to finish this off. What's the worker count? 64 SCVs still. Cyclone's going to deal with this. Maru's still making Cyclone Banshee, which is... I mean, this is about as battle mech as it gets. These are units that can be countered pretty easily under the right circumstances, but they're also mobile and can be used all over the map. Like siege tanks, you can't just go running around the map with. Banshees are much different. Sees a lot of Swarm Hosts, sees mutas on the way, backs off. Took a second for him to realize the mutas, it looks like there, but adding on turrets, more turrets all over the place. I'm not even sure if he's using camera locations, because he has all of his orbitals on one hotkey here. He has his factory and starport production split. Actually, wait. No, he has 5 factories and 2 starports on one hotkey, and then he hasn't hotkeyed these in yet. He just has... He's actually overlapped his hotkeys a bit, which is... I guess technically a mistake, but not a big deal at all. I was just wondering if there was some scheme to it. No, it was just he has 2 hotkeys on the same thing. So The Locusts come out, but the Banshees can chase. He actually drew a lot of Locusts away from the planetary. I'm not sure if that was intentional, that Dark wanted to fight that, but...
Upgrade complete.
Does he have the rapid-fire launchers? I'm surprised, like, he has this many Cyclones, but he hasn't gone for the Cyclone anti-air upgrade. I mean, it's not a huge upgrade, but you would think he would get it by this point. He keeps... But now... This is very stylistic. Some players would just sit back and try to build up, but Maru, despite the fact he has no bank and is down 40 supply and about to be some more, is still fighting. He's like, you don't have Locusts? I need to fight. And that's the choice he's making. He knows he's going to lose a lot of these. But he's saying, I'm going to trade these units. I'm going to get what I can while your Swarm Host wave is down, so that the next Swarm Host wave isn't as dangerous. Which... It's very easy, like, if he loses all those Cyclones, one way or another, like to Mutas that don't chase the Banshees, then he can just lose with the next wave. But he's managed to draw back enough of Dark's units. Like, just 2 speed cloak Banshees have kept him busy. The Mutas are splitting. Look at these splits. He's leading him on a chase. And that's all it is. Like, those Banshees are they live to die right now.
Command center upgrade complete. Add-on.
Scans the armies, multiple scans. He knows where the Mutas are because the Did that Banshee make it home? Almost. It did. It made it home. One of the Banshees made it home. Now Maru is sat back. Because he's building... Well, the reason Maru is sitting back now is because he needs to defend a wave before his Ravens. He's switched into Ravens. He didn't switch into Ravens until a minute or two ago. While he doesn't have those late-game units that build up energy, he was fighting. Swarm Host Wave used, fighting. But now he's making Siege Tanks and Ravens. And he can't lose his army before the Ravens come out because he'll die. So he's willing to weather another wave in order to get the Ravens out with enough energy to actually win the late game. The supreme late game.
Mineral field depleted.
Yeah, but one Banshee keeping track of where those Swarm Hosts are going. He didn't actually realize the Locusts were coming in there until they flew in. I bet he was wondering where the Swarm Host wave went. And then he found out very quickly. But when his unit composition does not build up exponentially, like Cyclones and Banshees, the more time your opponent has, the better they'll counter them. Ravens, the more time you have, the better you counter everything, is currently how Ravens work. Say what you will about that, but Maru understands how strong Ravens are when you build them up and have them as part of your army with plenty of energy. Maru definitely understands how strong Ravens are. Yeah, having a couple anti-armor missiles. There's no turrets here. This is actually an insane game, by the way. Oh my. Already taking out a chunk of... Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
Mineral field. Vespene geyser.
Maru understanding the capabilities of the Ravens.
Mineral field depleted.
And there you go. The Mutas are gone. Maru is now maxed out. He doesn't have a bank, but he has enough Ravens. They don't all have energy here. I don't know how much he wants to actually try to trade out. I mean, Banelings aren't great against mech. When you're maxed out, you want to get as many Banelings as possible. They're better than Zerglings because their one attack does way more damage, but... No energy for anti-armor missile, but just pushing through. He's making more Banshees, more siege tanks behind this. Sees that army will be dealt with. Now what is he going to do with that? That was a scramble right there. He's like, oh shit, roaches. What do I do? Banshee's coming back, Raven coming to the side. He's trying to scramble whatever he can. Anti-armor missile comes through again. But the locusts are down. It's time to move forward. Another wave of locusts. He's backing off. It looks like he's actually in full retreat here. Yeah, barely using control groups. He's not using the select all army hotkey. Maru has army in 4 or 5 different parts of the map right now. He's got army over here. He's got army over here. He's retreating with his main force. He's got his air army. He's got an attack on the right side. There's this random Hellion, unrelated. But yeah, despite he's not using the control groups here. I mean, he has some of his air army, but he's actually using the camera to move around the minimap in order to figure out, in order to move his units, because control groups are too rigid. Oh my. A lot of drones. If you can kill them. Well, that's a very good trade. But he's keeping track and controlling the creep when he can. You might be like, he has a Raven right there. Why didn't he wait for it? You don't wait. There is no time for waiting. And once again, Maru keeping control. Where are the swarm hosts? Where are any spellcasting units? What is going to defend? And Dark has money in the bank, but he can't seem to figure out how to deal with this. No Vipers were built. I'm sure Maru's pretty happy about that. Vipers can definitely throw you off. But the Banshee's always being used as a mobile strike force. Enough Cyclones to really threaten any bases. Anti-armor missiles to ward off big groups of units. Looks like a bit of mismicro on those locusts as well.
Mineral field depleted.
Maru on the offensive. All the swarm hosts are... He just used a locust wave, so we can chase him down. And Dark taps out with money in the bank. That is... It might... Like, I'm sure watching that a lot of the time... Now, here's the problem once again with Terran. I guess not really a problem with Terran. But in general, the biggest complaint is that the best Terrans are just so goddamn good. That even tier 2 Terrans, like if you watched GSL last night, Maru, unstoppable god. Alive? Oh, those are Banelings alive. Like, it's just, even at the top tier, the difference between the very, very, very best, the Maru, the Beyond, Innovation, TY, and not all of those perform, but Maru lately. And like Alive, Ryung, I'm blanking. There's a few other Terrans up there, special, that are right there, but still just a few tiny little notches. The way Maru, he played like a Zerg there. He kept control over the entirety of the largest map in the pool, which is just insane. And it with mass production. Maru, stop ruining it for everyone.